Yes, nice to meet you guys. Before our interview, please allow me to make a self-introduction. I'm the head of the global community for EOS. Hello.
Okay. Hi.
Would you mind to make a self-introduction for yourself?
Of course. Hi. Nice to meet you. My name is Marc-Antoine. I'm with Mathieu and Alex leading this initiative of EOS Canada. And I'm a serial entrepreneur, created multiple technology businesses with large teams. And this is the most exciting initiative of my life so far.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm Alex. I worked with Mark previously. I ran a Bitcoin business in 2014, 13. I met Dan at that point. It was a lot of fun. And then after that, did a few other startups. And then I joined Mark and Mathieu to start that venture, EOS Canada, which we're having a lot of fun on. So approximately that. Right?
And Mathieu, used to be an investment banker, worked for 7 years in financial services, doing mergers and acquisitions, raising equity, raising debt, and then met these guys a few months ago and decided to join EOS Canada full-time and having a blast.
Yeah, thank you in advance for the part of this interview. So I know EOS Canada has been actively involved in running and testing the community testnet and in the creation of the BIOS boost sequence, as well in building various community tools necessary for the ecosystem to flourish. So what have you done so far? What's your definition for EOS Canada?
So there's many things we provided with the community, and I think it's really important in advancing the developer ecosystem. So as a BP, we're technology focused. And I think it's a great fit for being a BP because it's a very technology-focused endeavor. So the first thing we did is we started writing a Go library, a fully fledged Go library. It's actually the first library that talks the peer-to-peer protocol of the blockchain. So we're able to build low-level monitoring tools to see the transaction going before they're even inside blocks. And so it does all the crypto, and Go is a very good tool for distributed systems. So it's a nice fit. And then with that, we built, so we saw there was a lack, let's say, of orchestration tools around. We've seen many test nets being developed here and there, but they had all the same problem, I think, is that they were managed by one or two guys. And then you needed to send your information for you to be included in their network. And I told to myself, this can't work for a mainnet launch. So we started working on EOS BIOS, which is a tool that orchestrates in a decentralized way the mainnet launch. So I think right now it's the only tool in this position that is able to properly in a distributed fashion and in a fair way where no one is really the owner of the launch, but it's a protocol to launch. And also it's the only one that right now I see honors the snapshot, puts the snapshot in, and also is able to do the validation. So like all the testnets are run, and that's good, but we need to verify all the actions to make sure when we launch the network, it's exactly how everyone intended it to be, that there's no transfer that was added, no transfer that was removed from what we expect, right? So right now, EOS BIOS, I think, is the tool to do that, and I hope other BPs are going to jump in as fast as possible so that we don't risk a mainnet launch. And also from our standpoint, the core focus of our mission is create great developer experience. Our goal is to, for example, with those tools, you can, with a one command on Mac, Windows, Linux, start a node EOS, so start an EOS blockchain and start developing. That's critical for developer adoption. And that's where we want to bring most value there. Bringing developers to the platform, I think it's the most critical aspect of adoption of the blockchain, developer adoption.
Yes. In your opinion, which area about dApps built in EOS do you prefer? And do you plan on developing dApps?
That's a very good question. Obviously, EOS is a dApps platform. You build decentralized app on top. As I said, our core focus is developer experience. So what we can do to help dApp developers is to bring them the best tool, right? If you have a discipline and you're building houses, you need good hammers. If the hammers don't exist, someone needs to create those hammers. That's what we do. And C++ already has awesome tooling, and we want to bring anything that is EOS specific, right? So we don't need to reinvent the C++ world. We need to invent the EOS specific tooling and also testing frameworks. So now if you're asking, do we prefer dApps this or that? Like we're a platform. We're servants of the platform, and we build and solidify the layer below dApps. So we want to make sure they can all exist for once. But then it's very important for us to understand the developer experience. So we're building small dApps that do not necessitate a token necessarily, or we'll see how large scale they become, but to understand the developer experience. And we're actually going to demo some of these things on a meetup on next Monday, so that's May 7th. And we're going to show how the Go library we built can interact with smart contracts we've built and build something quite cool. So you can see that on Monday, perhaps.
Cool. So is there any place of EOS could be optimized from the perspective of technology?
Right. So obviously there's many opportunities, right, for optimization. And the first one that comes to mind is probably multi-threading. We want to, cap and CPU-wise so that the nodes are always working at full capacity. And so Block 1 is going to be working on that. It's going to be optimized. Another thing is IPFS for storage. Distributed apps will want storage that are not just a few bytes. So we'll want to optimize that or, advance that. And we're working on that to advance the goal of EOS storage as fast as possible. Anything we'll be able to do, we will do. And also, I'm thinking like places to optimize in terms of usability or inter-blockchain communication. The usability of that is still up in the air. It's part of the scaling plan, right, for EOS to become widely adopted. So we're already thinking of services where us as the block producer can support side chains and how we can make sure we do service the whole ecosystem. So those are optimization, and not much is being done right now, but we're still looking forward to that. And still already working on that and make sure we're understanding all the aspects of it.
Yes, it should be a high level. So do you think that EOS is too complicated to use for ordinary users? What should the developers do to help users?
Right. So if, depending on your audience there, like those who have not tried Steemit, right, the blockchain Dan Larimer built before, they're in for a surprise because it's a pretty usable blockchain, more than any other blockchain, I think we can say. It's surprisingly friendly. And one thing that comes to mind is the account recovery. Just a quick story like that. Mark and I, we were working at Intel Security, and we're working on a product called TrueKey. And that's like a password manager, like 1Password or LastPass or something, perhaps, I don't know, another such product. And over there, we learned one thing, is that users, they want account recovery. You sort of need that, right? So having just that feature is already something very great. Now, to contrast that with other blockchains, perhaps, like Bitcoin miners, they do not provide services to users. It's not in their incentive structure right away, right? They're plucking the funds from the exterior, whereas BPs like us, we'll be like, because we're semi-trusted entities, visible, public, with large stakes, we'll build complex stuff to be a recovery partner, and we'll be watching the blockchain for you, those who want to, subscribe to some of their services. And we'll be watching, for example, if there's transactions that go over a certain amount, you want to receive an SMS or email, right? We're going to bridge the worlds like that. And also, if someone is fiddling with your permissions, right, or your authorization on chain, you want to know that, and perhaps you can go and prevent or cancel such transactions. And we can help you set those things up. So as a BP, there's much we can do, and there's still much to be done, right? But that's the opportunity we're going to take to make sure we offer the best-in-class service. And, as developers ourselves, we're building the ecosystem infrastructure. And so certainly we're going to be building voting platforms and block explorer. So that's on the slate there to be released very soon as an open source piece there. So it'll be fun.
Yeah. Compared to the Chinese community, what are the unique technical advantages of EOS Canada for competitive black producer election?
Well, I think one of our strongest, advantage is the fact that we're complementary to the Chinese community. So the fact that we're, in a country where, in a very stable situation, we can work with the Chinese community to really strengthen the network and the EOS ecosystem. So Canada is very stable in terms of political, economical, social. We have world-class banking. We're near the US, but we're not the US. We're independent. So I think this is really, a strong asset for the whole ecosystem. And also, we've been building the bias orchestrator. Alex has done an amazing job on that, and already we're seeing a lot of the community working with him to, make sure it's perfect and ready for the launch. And we're really looking forward to working with the Chinese block producers. And we've seen some of them are really, really strong technology already. So we want to make sure that we collaborate as much as possible with all the block producers, and that we're all aligned for the launch. Even though we're competing for something much bigger, which is a successful launch of the mainnet, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you can add, we as a team worked on other piece of large scale software solutions before, like some that was acquired by multinational companies like Intel. And so, we know what it takes to bring products to market, and we've proven we can do that. So I think it's going to be a great asset and very complementary to some like other more marketing focused groups.
Yeah. What do you think of EOS Canada's community influence? For a culture point of view, what advantage do you think EOS Canada has?
So community involvement has been really important to us since the early beginnings. At first, we started really being involved and contributing at the code level. So as Alex mentioned before, we were really involved in the BIOS orchestrator tool. We've developed the Go library. And then the other thing that was super important for us was educating the community. So we've been, we've had on YouTube a series of video. We have a whole series that's called the launch of the mainnet, in which we've explained a bunch of different parts of how the mainnet would actually launch and the different items that are part of this. We also have a Q&A series in which we get all these questions that we can find on Steemit, on Reddit, on Telegram, and then we take them and then we answer some of those questions. And we've been posting daily videos. By the way, all those videos are in the process of being translated. Some are already available on our Weibo and our WeChat platform, and on Youku also. And we'll have more of those videos being translated in the near terms. And also, we've been writing educational posts, blog posts. We have 2 or 3 that are really detailed. One of which is already translated, and it can also be found on our Weibo and WeChat page.
Yes. What do you think of the limits of the stay-wake system for votes?
Yeah, that's a very good question. One thing is sure is, every system has its limits, but delegated proof of stake is definitely the most scalable blockchain consensus mechanism that we've seen so far. What's amazing of it is that it incorporates key learnings from democracy and corporate governance. Like we didn't throw away 1,000 years of experience in transacting with one another as humans. So this is all part of the chain itself. Of course, it's unknown if the large whales will be using their influence to bring, let's say, a BP that's not like a good operator, but in a way that would be short-sighted. Since the value of their stakes are at risk. When you think about it, by making it stake weighted, there's less risk of a moral hazard in the system. Since your stake is at risk, if you make a bad decision, well, you'll be paying for it to some extent.
Yes. What are the stance on the block producer independence, and how will you demonstrate that independence to voters?
Well, for us, it's extremely important, and we'll always do our best effort to put the interest of EOS Network above our own. We announced on Steemit that we were not affiliated to any large EOS token holder. And we believe that paying for votes is actually very short-sighted. And to maintain the health of the network, this can't happen. And we agree with the Constitution that vote buying should not be tolerated. And we publicly pledge that we will never buy votes.
Yeah, so the number of China block producer around 1/3 of block producer candidates. What's your opinion about this?
Well, first of all, like, it's not really a surprise to us. You know, China has 20% of the world population. So, you know, in a way, like, it kind of makes sense that there's so many of the Chinese community that actually wants to take part of the EOS platform. So we definitely think it's a great thing. You know, one thing is sure is that we need to make sure that there will be a global diversity amongst the block producers, and, you know, to ensure a secure, fast, and politically insulated network. But we're also aware that China is very well positioned as a leader in blockchain adoption. So it's definitely a great thing that many delegates are Chinese. Like, it would be honestly amazing if all countries around the world would have such a great representation. And I'm thinking of, you know, even ourselves in North America, in Europe, or other parts of Asia. You know, definitely China is up there. And we've been really impressed with the backgrounds and the community reach that we've seen from the Chinese block producers so far. For instance, you know, Alex and Mark have been, you know, testing the BIOS with many leading Chinese block producers, and they really had some impressive tech skills.
Yes. Next question is very important. If you want to establish a block producer evaluation report model, so which targets should be considered? What's the most important of the evaluation model?
So, you know, block producers are custodians of the network. It's a huge network. There's huge stakes. A lot of people, you know, want that so it's a huge responsibility also, right? Block producers need to have a deep technical knowledge of all aspects of the blockchain, down to the source code level, right? We can't afford just to have people that run the node, because at some point something is going to happen, something bad, and we'll need to roll out a change fast. And we'll need to be able to review just the changes of the code and make sure we understand the impact on all the rest, and roll out that code quickly to make sure the network sustains and is repaired as fast as possible if there's a hack or something. So we can't afford to get to that point where we have people who do not thoroughly understand what they're running. And so marketing alone won't cut it at that point. I don't want to be, you know, running on a network that have great marketing people, although it's very useful because their job is to run the infrastructure in a pristine way. And, you know, the whole world is going to try to hack those block producers, the whole world. So they need to be very sophisticated on the security and be on the edge, right? Be constantly monitoring and hacking themselves, you know, and trying to figure out how will people, you know, try to attack them and defend themselves, have the capacity and the skills to do that. And, you know, they need to have infrastructure required, and, you know, they need to have room for expansion, fast, quick, and also provide technical, like they're the expert on the technical level, right? The governance is going to be on top, but they govern the technical. So I think it's critical that we have great block producers technically. That's where we're trying to bring the most value, and I think that's where we're in a good position.
Finally, do you guys want to say something to the Chinese community?
Yes, well, first of all, thank you very much for having us at this for this interview. We really appreciate the opportunity, and we look forward to doing many, many more. we believe that China will be integral in the growth of the EOS network. So we've been spending time working on developing relationships with the community members from China, and we're opening, our door to anyone who wants to collaborate with us, whether it's translating content or doing more interviews, or even us opening informing the North America community of what the great work is being done in China, for example. So we've been spending quite a bit of time perfecting the launch of the network with different block producers so far. And we want to, remind everyone that we're quite impressed by the work done by the Chinese team. So this is really, reassuring for us. And we look forward to seeing the many wonderful things that we'll build all together in this change. So while we operate from Canada, we're a block producer for the global community, and there are no borders on EOS. So please join us on the different Chinese channels, such as Weibo and WeChat and Youku. We're obviously on Telegram every day. We post on Twitter, YouTube. So come and visit us at eoscanada.com, and please do ask us any question. We're happy to contribute to this community.
Yeah, thank you for the interview.